Prices for you in the story of a local Korean War veteran. It was an interesting time in our history. The Korean War started about 5 years after World War II ended. Mr. Charles Howard says he's the son of a combat veteran. His father fought in the First World War, and he told me his father was gassed in the war. World War I ended in 1918. Mr. Howard says his father came back to East Tennessee and started a business in the 1930s.
Charles Howard.
Charles Howard. And where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Rockwood, Tennessee.
Mr. Howard joined the Army in 1952.
Two of my buddies got drafted, so I just decided to go with them.
He was trained as an engineer in Virginia.
I come back on a week's vacation in Rockwood and got on the train in Rockwood and rode it all the way to Seattle, Washington. And then we rode a ship overseas, and we landed in Incheon, Korea.
They sent him to Wonju, Korea. He was a fire chief at an airfield.
About every other night, they called him Bed Check Charlie. He'd come down in that little old plane, and it's sputtering and going on, and throw a bomb out. He was there until the war ended in 1954. When I come home, I don't know, it seemed like people wasn't even interested in nothing. He said he wasn't mistreated at all, but that people just didn't much care to talk about what he'd been through. After the war, he came back home to East Tennessee. A friend of mine had a grocery store there in Rockwood, and he came to Chattanooga to get some produce and stuff, and his car broke down inside the Motor Company. He came down and fixed his friend's car, and the man who owned the garage gave him a job. Been here ever since. He's done a lot of things since then. Worked in law enforcement. He was a building inspector, helped start a rescue squad, and he worked in animal control for several years. Charles Howard is now 86 years old. Mr. Howard says he was married in 1956. He has 4 daughters, 8 grandchildren, and 1 great